here's what we've got to be careful we don't do. We can't look at the other constitutional fundamentals that are being challenged. What do you think is going to happen to the Second Amendment if our eyes aren't wide open? Every year at this time, I'm typically in Las Vegas for a tremendous event. It's called the SHOT Show. It's the coolest thing because the thousands and thousands of people who attend, and these are firearms dealers, outdoor, camping companies, outdoors, safe manufacturers for gun safes. It is such a huge event, but it's not open to the general public. So for years, I've been invited to go and broadcast from the SHOT Show, giving you sort of an inside look at what the SHOT Show is all about. And of course, it's presented by the National Shooting Sports Foundation. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the trade association for the firearms industry, their whole mission is to promote, protect, and preserve hunting and the shooting sports. They're formed in 1961. And of course, because of the pandemic, there was not a SHOT Show in Las Vegas this year. But there are online events, webinars, all kinds of cool things that are still happening. And here to talk about this great organization is the relatively newly named president and CEO of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, Joe Bartozzi, who joins us here on the Mike Gallagher Show. Joe, it's great to welcome you, although what a first year you've had as president and CEO of NSSF, huh? Welcome to the presidency.
Yeah, no kidding. And Mike, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, it wasn't exactly the way I expected my first year to go in this job, but you know what? We're going to get through this thing, and we're going to do what's best for the industry and keep things moving forward.
We are indeed, and I'm grateful to the NSSF, and I've always appreciated broadcasting from the SHOT Show. I want to get to the real perilous journey that the Second Amendment is on right now, and that millions of Americans have to be aware of. But before we do that, tell me what you guys are doing, because I understand there's some pretty neat things going on online that people can participate in.
Right. We have what we call Shot on Demand, and it started last week, and it's going to go right through into next week, actually. And it provides opportunities for buyers to meet sellers virtually, of course. It also has webinars, training webinars for all sorts of things like compliance, how to run your retail shop, how to conduct inventories of your product, all sorts of things that retailers that have registered for SHOT Show can actually go online and view. There's a couple coming up on insurance, how to find insurance in a tight market, all sorts of things that we've created to try and benefit our members, because we can't unfortunately meet in Vegas this time of year, but we're going to try and do our best to keep the momentum going, keep the message out there that there is resources that we offer to you that you can take advantage of.
And I'm grateful. I assume you just go to nssf.org, right, to get all the information about what you're doing online?
Yes, and there's also shotshow.org.
Shotshow.org.
Yes, that'll also get you to a lot of the information as well.
Perfect. Shotshow.org or nssf.org, and you're going to want to participate. It truly is almost a liberating feeling to spend a week in Vegas every year with you guys at the SHOT Show, because you really do know how many people are around us in this country who respect firearms, who are outdoorsmen and women that love the shooting sports. And indeed, who celebrate the Second Amendment. We're in for an interesting challenge here. Talk a little bit about that fundamental constitutional right and why so much is at stake right now going forward, Joe.
Right. Well, as you said, it is a fundamental right, and I tell people that people are buying firearms in record numbers, and in large part, what we saw this summer, what we see with the pandemic. People are buying firearms for self-defense because, in my mind, human self-defense is a human right. Now, what we're hearing, the rhetoric we're hearing from many on the left, many politicians, that they're coming for us, they're coming for our guns, they're coming for our manufacturers. The Joe Biden called the firearms manufacturers the enemy. Now, I'm hoping that's a lot of rhetoric, but I have to take him at his word. I have to assume that he's really going to do this. And of course, with the Senate being tied, Kamala Harris cast the tiebreaker, right? So the Senate, for all intents and purposes, has to be 100% held if you're going to stop bad bills. The House, of course, got closer at the last election, which is a good thing. Make it maybe a little bit more difficult to move bad bills through the House, but still, you hear these things, you hear the rhetoric, and you have to be concerned if you're a gun owner, if you value and cherish the Second Amendment, like many of us do.
Joe, the good news about a 50-50 Senate and a completely deadlocked Senate, as you said, Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. But I gotta believe I think about Joe Manchin, I think about moderate Democrats or Democrats that at least respect and recognize the Second Amendment and the wishes of their own constituents.
Yeah, there definitely are people that really get it, understand that. Well, first of all, they took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution, and if they're really true to their word, they have to include the Second Amendment, right? So there's those folks that have credibility, but we're hearing this rhetoric, and it's really frightening, really disturbing. But we're not deterred, we're not backing down. Look, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I
Yeah.
think optimistically we can work with people on both sides of the aisle, and we have been really nonpartisan as much as we can possibly be. But we're not going to give up, we're not going to surrender, and I tell people there's a line that we will not cross. But again, we offer a lot of really good things if people are paying attention. The safety programs, the things that we do to train hunters and shooters, I mean, those are things that should be celebrated, not demonized.
It has to be, I know you spent, Joe, before you became the NSSF president, you spent the majority of your long career in the firearms industry.
Yeah.
To see the way it seems like people on all sides of the political spectrum are gravitating towards becoming a responsible legal firearm owner in a way that's as challenging as our times are right now. That's got to be a little bit gratifying for you, considering all the years you've spent in the industry.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Mike. We're hearing and seeing so much about the numbers of gun of sales this year. We estimate about 8.5 million first-time gun owners in 2020, and that's a big number. And that's a great thing for all of us. But what really is, to me, the most gratifying is 40% of those first-time gun buyers are female. We're seeing a rise in people of color buying firearms for the first time. It's across all political spectrums, that people are exercising the Second Amendment rights, and I
Mhm.
think that's the most important thing because that does change the dynamics and the demographics and the politics, frankly, in their own home communities. If they support the Second Amendment, they're going to elect people that also support the Second Amendment. We would hope, and so that could be a sea change for the future of shooting sports.
Well, Joe, the country is shocked to see highly publicized random crime on like the kid who was walking his dog a couple weeks ago in Philadelphia, and
Yeah,
and a couple of monsters came up to him, a couple of cretins, and this poor guy, this young man, I think he was 25 years old, shot dead in an apparent robbery, unarmed, unable to defend himself.
yeah.
In fact, they when they found him laying on the sidewalk, and it just hurts me even to say it out loud, he was still clutching the leash of his beloved dog so his poor dog wouldn't get away after he was shot and he died of his injuries. People see those kinds of horrific crimes that are taking place in cities all over America, and frankly, it's like the light goes on. Something is triggered in them where they say, you know what, I've got to be able to legally protect and defend myself.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is terrible. And what, unfortunately, a lot of people are doing, a lot of people in politics and some in the media, they're taking those random acts of violence, the violence we're seeing in places like Chicago and Baltimore and Detroit, and they're conflating that to include all law-abiding gun owners into this thing, as though people that are licensed and permitted to have a firearm are going out and committing these
Joe,
crimes, and
Joe,
it's
they do it
certainly not
every
true.
they do it every time.
Yeah,
They blame the gun. They
they
say
blame the
it's the
gun.
gun's
Yeah,
fault that
yeah.
two guys go up to a young man walking his dog in Philadelphia and shoot and kill him. It's the gun's fault. It's
Yeah, of course it
insane.
is.
It's
No, it's really
insane.
despicable. It's because we could have a conversation. There is common ground to talk about things that make communities safer, but they just won't have it. They're demonizing all of us, and frankly, we're sick of it.
Well, the conversation is had all the time at the NSSF, and I know that. I know how proactive you guys are on gun safety, on all kinds of child proofing,
Yeah.
homes, and all kinds of things you guys do. I urge everybody to go to nssf.org to find out all about the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and go to shotshow.org. We might not be able to be there in person, but you can be there virtually and get a lot of great information Go to shotshow.org. Joe Bartozzi, President and CEO of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, congratulations on your new position, and I look forward to working with you for many years to come.
Same here, Mike. Thanks again for having me, and have a great day. Thanks.
You too. All the best. There's more coming up.